It's a loaded question. I don't want you to take it the wrong way, but Mark Dan was elected into office, and you probably have been asked this question 100 times too. Left office essentially saying, I wasn't really prepared to go in and manage that kind of organization. What kind of experience do you have to manage hundreds of people? I mean, have you, the businesses you've been involved in at that kind of workforce?
Right. Bluntly, my business is not that large, and I'm proud that it's small. I wish it were bigger, but I'm proud that it's small. I'll be honest. I don't have experience managing some 800 some people. I don't think any of my opponents do either. I do have experience in clients that manage hundreds of people. Now, am I taking a day-to-day management role on that? Not necessarily, but I certainly sit around the management table with them and help make those decisions, more on the financial side. I think Mark Dan failed because of a lack of a set of principles that he followed, a lack of set of discipline. I think he allowed that. Well, I don't know. I can't answer the question for Mark Dan, but I don't necessarily think. I mean, it may be easy for him to say that it's because he hadn't. I mean, no one's ever had the experience being President of the United States until the President of the United States. No one's ever had the experience being Attorney General until the Attorney General. I think what you got to look at is the character of the person and the record that reflects that best character, and try to determine those past actions, how that will apply to what their agenda, both stated and in the past, has actually been. And will it be a new experience for me to manage some 800 people? Yes. And that's why I said when you asked my agenda, what's my agenda? Well, the first agenda is to do, again, no harm. I mean, I think Mary Taylor, who, by the way, had a very similar resume to mine when she ran the first time, has handled the office quite well. There are areas for improvement. There always are. The first thing I'm going to want to do is make sure that we don't let anything fall through the cracks, that the plates that are spinning continue to spin, and then find ways to improve upon that. And I think I've outlined that. So I don't think I'm much different than other folks in the race. If you think gray hair is what causes competence, then I think that's a failed presumption. And by the way, the gray hair is coming in pretty quick in this campaign. I think it's more about character, it's more about principle, it's more about what life experiences and discipline that candidate brings to the table, rather than finding someone who's actually led an organization of 800 people, which, by the way, to my knowledge, neither of my opponents have done in this race, whether it's the Democrat or the Republican. And again, Mary Taylor hadn't. I think Mark Dan failed because he failed in his principles.
Are you surprised by how heated it's been back and forth between the two of you over endorsements?
I think there was a big presumption made when the Ohio Republican Party chose not to invite me to be a part of the endorsement process at their level and endorsed my opponent in the primary. I think there was kind of an assumption that everything else would fall into line. And, I could have either, taken my ball and gone home or continued to advocate for what I believe was right, and we've done that. So I think the heat may have come from the fact that we've done a whole lot better than anyone expected us to do in that regard. I'm proud to have the county endorsements that we have. We just picked up Montgomery County last week, which was kind of expected, being my home county. At least that's what my opponent would say for sure. But we've won that battle, if you will, so far. We've got folks like Summit and Cuyahoga and Lake County up in the Northeast that have all endorsed me. What excites me about those endorsements is that, to me, while the state party, I respect them, and this is a big boy game in politics, and you move on. The county parties are the ones that are actually putting the boots on the ground. We're proud to have the backing of the Ohio Tea Party movement. There's a fringe element to every movement. I like to joke and say there's a fringe element in my church. But by and large, the Tea Party movement are people, Democrat and Republicans alike, who are just frustrated with the direction of the government. They want to take it back. We've always appealed, whether it was running for city council at 23, and then later, or state rep, or now, we've always kind of done both. We've appealed directly to the people while we have dealt with the political infrastructure. And I don't know if it was supposed to be this heated or wasn't supposed to be this heated. I think some of it's coming just from the fact that I think some of the party elite made an assumption that just wasn't true, and so I think it got heated when they found out that we had a much broader organization across the state than they believed we did.
Do you have any concerns that if you win this, when you win this, however you want to phrase it, that you've alienated a certain segment of the Republican Party and won't have their support going in November?
Thanks for the confidence when we win it, by the way. I'm teasing. That's always a concern. I mean, you don't have public discourse in a public way, which is what politics is, without alienating people. I can tell you that I think my loudest critics are people who would be my critics no matter what I did. So I don't think the alienation just started. I think it's been there. And I think that alienation comes from, again, I go back to having had a record both behind closed doors and out front, probably more behind closed than out front, of standing up when maybe it wasn't popular to do so, or maybe when some of the party elite wanted me to do something different. My goal, if there's a goal, besides running a good auditor's office, from the practical standpoint, my goal is to rest at night knowing that, again, and I've said this before, that my conscience can as much as possible be clear, and that I've represented the people well, and ultimately represented God well, and my family well, and myself. I mean, so to say that, am I worried about alienating? I think by and large, if you would go to, even county party leaderships across the state, they don't feel alienated by it. They're engaged and excited about the new layer of leadership that is coming along. I don't think they feel alienated. I think it's more some folks in the party who want to control the agenda, and maybe I'm in the way of that, and maybe they feel alienated, but I got news for you. I think they were before this race ever started.
How big a role do you think the Tea Party is going to play in this primary?
I think it's yet to be seen. And, while I'm hopeful that their call for a renewed sense of commitment to principles that made our country great takes hold in both parties, I think we, as someone who has participated in many Tea Party events, we've got a point to prove, and it can only ultimately be proven at the ballot box. Can't be proven with money, although that's helpful. Can't be proven with a lot of talk, although that's helpful. It's proven ultimately by the impact it has actually on the elections. I think they could play an extremely major role, and to the extent that in many examples, and most examples, I think they are advocating for principles that will help turn our state and our country around. I hope they play a very major role. I hope they're very successful.
Anything else you want to add?
I don't think so. I appreciate the opportunity to sit down with you, and would just say, since this video is going to be posted, go to sethmorgan.org. I'm sure the paper won't write this, but if you want more information on the background, certainly you can find it on the website. Look forward to being the next auditor of the state.